Hello everybody. So this is the new carburetor that I received from the internet, 30 quid, but something already wrong with it. It doesn't matter because I got other parts, but the screw mix, this carb would never work properly. The screw mix, where is it? There. The screw mix, fuel mix, was missing two things. When I got it out, I only got that, which is the screw itself, and the little spring. However, there's supposed to be a little washer and a little rubber seal, and it was not there. So this bike would never work properly. Never mind about it. I'll tell you more in a second. Then that's where the needle for the carburetor float levels is supposed to have a little filter there. There's none. Let's continue. And the second fuel mix adjuster, same thing, no washer and no rubber seal. So this is now the other side bowl, same problem. The filter is not there, and there's actually a washer missing, but we'll continue. So now the diaphragms. This one, you can't really see it, but it's got three little pinholes in it. So this would never work, for sure. And the other thing about these carbs is, you got to be careful, because I'm going to check, but I believe that it's got these springs, yeah, and you got to be careful, because when you take them out, basically what happens is, this one should have a long spring and this one the short one. If there's anything else wrong, I'll let you know when I'm editing the video. But in principle, is the long one on the right, so, and the short one on the left. The left being where he operates the accelerator cable. I'll tell you more in a second. So now the carbs have been in the ultrasonic cleaner. I've already done this one, but before I go on, some stuff that maybe you need to know, maybe you don't, for the ones who don't. So this is where the needle for the floating balls go, and you got to be careful. There's a washer before it goes in, and there's a little what do you call it, there's a little filter that cannot be missing, otherwise all the crap goes inside. And that's what it looks like. I put it there so you see better. That's what it looks like. It's very small, and it goes so it doesn't let any dirt come into the carbs. Then you got the jets. So that's the main jet, goes in there. This one was, like everything else with this car, was absolutely full of crap. You know, it's just varnish because of the petrol sitting in there for too long. So that goes in there. And now you got this one, which is the small one, which goes in there. All of them were full of crap. Now they are okay. I'll tell you more in a second. Now, for the float balls, this needle is what controls the intersub fuel into the carb. Now you need to make sure that that little tip is a rubber tip, and you need to make sure it's not deformed in any way, shape or form, because if it's deformed, that means when the fuel goes in, the valves fill up, and then they carry on letting more fuel go in, which means you're going to flood the spark plugs and the bike won't work properly. So pay attention to that little tip there, making sure it's not deformed. And there you are. Now the balls are there, and you should always check if the height of the balls are of the floating balls are okay, because otherwise it could be wrong. Now I'm not going to go into that because I don't want to give you wrong information. I'm going to do what I know, and hopefully it's all right. But if you want to read about it, because there's people explaining how height, even the Honda Deauville manual has got the height for those floating balls. All right, so let's continue. So now another thing, you do what you like. I do this when these rubber seals are not flattened out completely. What I do, I carefully clean them very, very nicely, and then I put a bit of Vaseline. Yeah. So Vaseline helps with the rubber because it helps with the rubber, but they are not that flat, so they're going to be all right. And with the Vaseline, it helps to pump them up a bit. You call it whatever you like. And now I'm going to put them in. Just make sure there's no residuals inside, because they got dilute with the petrol when the petrol starts going in, and you're going to have to take the carbs out again because they're going to be blocked. Let's continue. Now let's get these ones in. They are similar, there's not a problem. The only problem there is like I told you before, if they are punctured, even a tiny little pinhole, that's it. You won't do enough vacuum to accelerate the bike and all that. So I'm lucky in a way, because one of them, with this carburetor that I bought, the 30 pounds carburetor, it was completely, he had more than one pinhole. So that's there in the bin. But my luck is I had one spare one. Why? Because I bought the one for Renegade. I bought two of them, and because they come in pairs. So I put the brand new ones in, and now I got these ones. So with the one I had in reserve, there's no pinholes, there's no nothing. I can put them in there with no problem. What you got to be careful about is this. When you put them on, they got a little eyelet. The eyelet needs to be perfectly in there. I can tell you that with the brand new ones that I bought, I had a little problem with them, because they come with those without those little holes. So I had to very carefully heat up a piece of metal. So first I did a little hole, and then with a little bit of metal I heat it up, and I made sure the hole is perfect, so it doesn't start messing about. It needs to be perfect, and you need to make sure that that is completely, you blow it, because if there's anything in there blocking it, that's it, is not going to work properly. But blow any little crannies and everything, blow it, because if there's a little dust speck in there, it's not going to work. See you in a bit. So now with the springs, the long one, so you got your carburetor goes into the bike like this. So when you are facing forward, this side is the left hand side of the bike. That's where the cable, the accelerator cables go. So the long one goes on the other side, and the short one goes on this side. I just went to check on my own bike. That's what I believe it is. If I'm wrong, I'm going to have to take them out. But be careful, because they are both different sizes. So now everything else is done. Now gets to another part that is very important. This takes a valve, which is for the choke. Once again, make sure there's no pinholes in it. It shouldn't be a problem. What does happen to these ones is, you can see that this one is pretty much okay, But if I show you a different one, which was from one of the carburetors I put in the bin, that one is fully cracked. Now you can clean this, but what is important is that little pin which goes inside that doesn't have any crud in it and it moves freely. The other thing is, in there, there's a little seal. If you don't put that, you're gonna have a problem. So make sure everything is nice and clean. Let's continue. So yeah, the washers, I don't know what I'm gonna do with it because I'm gonna have to find. I don't know if I'm gonna find something from something else, whatever. What I advise you is to be very careful with the tips of those adjusters, because if you bend or mess up the tip, it's not going to work properly. So yeah, so let's see what's coming up and if I find it or not. But I think I'm going to leave it in here today because it's already nearly 3:20. I already worked today, and I came home. I only had a couple of hours work, 3 hours work, and I came home. But I'm tired now, and I'm hungry, and I need to have some food. But what I can tell from what I've seen in this carburetor is that someone tried to repair it, and when they put it all together, they were missing many parts, because these screws, they didn't have, one of them doesn't have the rubber seal, and both of them don't even have the little metal washer. On the other end, like I showed you earlier, all of them, none of the floats had this on the needle, this filter, none of them. So I truly believe, and one of the needles, was better looking. How can I put it? It was better looking than the other, right? So it looked better than the other. One side looked better than the other. So someone been fiddling with this carburetor, didn't put it back together properly, yeah, and then obviously it didn't work, and then probably the bike with other problems ended up in the scrapyard. I don't know if they bought a new carburetor for it or not. I only know that I bought it for 30 quid when most people are selling them for 170, 150 minimum. And the problem with those is like the ones I got already in there. See, this is my metal pile. This is my metal pile to go to the recycling. So that I took everything I could take from it. Don't want anything else. Both of them are rubbish. One was the one from that bike. I don't know which one it was. One was the one from that bike, and the other one is a spare one that I bought. And when I got it, because my problem was exactly those adjuster screws, both of them, they were seized. So that's why there's one in there in the bin. I did have another one, which is this one. I don't know what happened, but what I know is that it looks all right, and the both screws were turning. So it might be something wrong with it. I don't know, but I'm gonna try this one first. I'm gonna see how it works. Everything is ready. I just need to put something in there because I just put the pipe there, but now it needs a little T junction. So it goes a little rubber, basically. I got it there. I'll show you. So it needs this little T junction. So goes in there, right? So, and to get the fuel into both balls of the carburetor. Yeah, I need to put that in there. I just put that rubber in there to close it and to make sure it didn't go anywhere, didn't get any dirt inside. So yeah, so that is going to be my next job, to find 2 little metal washers to go in there. I might have to drill one. I might have to see if I can break something apart that electronic and take. They normally got like stereos and stuff, and they got little washers inside, metal washers. Maybe I can get one. I don't know. What I do know is this. I told you before, if you notice at the on my YouTube channel, the description, and I'm telling you, I'm not a mechanic. I know a lot of things. I know how to do a lot of things. I ask advice from people. I do some research, and that's how I get on with my life. Yeah. Now, doing a carburetor, it's not difficult. A carburetor on a bike is not difficult. What you need to be careful about is, if you're not sure about something, as you take things apart, make a nice clean area, not like I've got here, but a nice clean area. Some people even put a piece of paper or a cloth or something, so stuff doesn't bounce and fall on the floor and you never see it again. Take pictures as you're taking things apart, because at the end of the day, I'm telling you, this carburetor brand new is nearly 400 quid, man. You buy a second-hand carburetor, if you didn't have a choice like I didn't, because the screws were seized and I've got no other choice. But if you got the choice, take the carbs apart and clean them up and put them back together and all that, because debris is going to go through. What you can do is to put a filter. And most bikes got a filter anyway, fuel filter. But because you leave if you don't use the bike every day, and you leave it for the winter, it gets some varnish from the petrol, and it can clog up things, and you're going to have to take them apart. Other than that, you're going to have to take them to a mechanic. Now, if the mechanic sits down, I'm telling you, I've been here for 3.5 hours, and I know these carbs inside out. But I had to put them into the ultrasonic cleaner, and then of course I had to take them apart and then put them all back together. So 3.5 hours, and I know these carbs inside out. Yeah, but imagine a mechanic just on a Deauville, because of all the when they are original, they got all those fairings and everything. So the mechanic is going to charge you 1.5 hours to take the fairings out, 1.5 hours to put them back together. So that's 3 hours work. If they charge you at 50 quid an hour, and that's in these days I don't think so, but that's 150 quid just to get the fairings out. Now the carburetor, 3 hours with the carburetor, that's going to be 300-400 pounds. You know what I mean? And some mechanics, they don't even want to touch the carburetors. They just tell you, buy a new one, or scrap the bike, put a new carburetor, do whatever you like, because they don't want to do it, especially with the repairs. Nobody is going to sit in here getting a repair kit. I got all the parts and stuff available, little bits and pieces, but repair kits, they don't exist for certain bikes, and the mechanic is not going to sit around doing it for you, because it's going to be too expensive, and he knows it's expensive, and he doesn't want to do it because he knows what's going to happen in the end. You're going to jump like a madman when he tells you the price for the repair, which is going to be the price of another bike. So, you know, you can do it if you really want to, and if you got some time to do it. So I'll see you soon. Tomorrow I'll be here again. I'm going to try to start that bike and get it going with those carburetors. If something is wrong, then I need to sort it out. But maybe not this weekend, because next weekend is the Matte Black Right meeting, and I'm going.